Howdy do, and welcome to my very first episode of Should Have Avoid Releasing This. My name is Ashlyn Freyla, or you can just call me Ashy. I have no preference, and I just wanted to just make a little series slash video diary of just my personal experiences in life and just talking about what's ever on my mind. So, um, what is there to talk about? I guess something to just talk about universally that everyone can relate was my experiences during lockdown. Sorry for like the huge juxtaposition, but like I was everyone was affected by lockdown. I just want to give my own personal stories. So I remember like with everyone back in during in my generation where everyone was hearing about COVID for the first time, and honestly, we're just not really paying attention much to it. And until I want to say March of 2020 is when it started like spreading in the United States. And at first, we were all just like, awesome, we have 3 weeks, 2 weeks of spring break. Those 2 weeks turned to months, turned to multiple weeks, months, years. I'm still trying to get over the fact that lockdown was 6 years ago. But I just wanted to just talk about my experiences during that time. So honestly, for the first like couple months of 2020, it was certainly like with everyone, a huge leap on society and a huge leap on what to do. And thankfully, I was enrolled in virtual school at the time, so I was that having that transition between remote learning was pretty easy for me, since I what my family was a little paranoid of me trying to survive high school, especially within my city, because there are several cases of high schoolers and like high schools just not being the safest place for someone like me who has several chronic illnesses. And looking back, I'm kind of glad that they did, for better or for worse. But um, I'm trying to remember this all from memory, so please excuse me. So honestly, I was still pretty much a shut in for most of my life. Still am. I'm still trying to get out more. But what do I know? I'm just some person on the skunk pretending to be a skunk on the internet. But um, it was honestly I I'm trying to remember this, so please bear with me. Because most of my time was just trying to convince all my friends to play Final Fantasy 14, and honestly just being pretty much connected to that game, hardwired into that game, because that was just pretty much my form of escapism from the outside world. And how, especially now that during that time in the world, everyone was super uncertain, everyone was super panicky, everyone was just super just like, and with the widespread of just like fake news and all the fake information and all that stuff, just people trying to get a reaction out of people. I found comfort within Final Fantasy 14 and Eorzea. And I want to say this was around this was Shadowbringers around 5.3. I remember being caught up with the game around 5.3, and I started playing around February of 2019. So um I have to just thank I don't know how to properly say this, but the game has a special place in my heart. But anyways, um, school life was interesting to say the least. My friends were pretty much like having was being short circuited and all that such because they were stuck in their rooms, and we were just pretty much always just connected to Discord and all that stuff. But honestly, as much as I would like to look back on those times, I would not go back to them, since it was a a lot of stress during that time, since especially during high school, where I made the decision of getting out of the homeschool program and getting out of virtual school and back to the public school program, but I was behind on credits to graduate. So I had to take every single standardized test in my senior year in a span of a school year. So imagine how much stress I was doing, and also I was working for the very first time on my first part-time job at a Wendy's. And it was difficult, but I managed to do it. I somehow graduated with a 3.5 GPA, even though, if I'm being completely honest, this was like well over 5 years ago. I managed to just bullshit my way through this. This was before ChatGPT and everything, so I had to do it the hard way. So, but at the end, my 3.5 GPA didn't matter in the grand scheme of things, because I screwed up in the SAT. I got like a 950 on the SAT, which pretty much limited all my options when it comes to higher education. So I opted in to just go with the cheapest route, which is just enrolling in my local community college. And back then, I wanted to... Honestly, I just turned legal. I just turned 18, and being 18 in a big city such as my hometown, it's... You start doing stuff that you're gonna regret. So one of the very first things that I want to say, and for the people who are listening, do not finance a car when you're just working a part-time job and when you're still in school. Do not do it. Just either just get your driver's license and just borrow your family's car, because it's just you're just gonna create a lot of unnecessary stress and financial stress, and you're just gonna destroy your credit score unless you don't have a plan, unless you have a plan or something. But uh it was certainly an experience. From 2021 to 2022, I was studying computer science and cybersecurity, and at first I enjoyed it until I actually needed to learn how to code, and then I hated it. And plus, with a lot of financial stress that was happening within my life, and pretty much just a lot of stress was going on in my life, mainly with finances, gender dysphoria, family, trying to pretty much to transition into childhood to adulthood. It was a lot of stress that I eventually failed pretty much. I started to fail my classes to the point where I lost my financial aid and lost my scholarship, so I had to pay most of my things out of pocket. And since I was, I think, 19 at the time, I pretty much had to drop out, which wasn't an easy decision to make, because my decisions was very influenced by my family's decision, because whatever I do affects them, if that makes sense. And whatever they do affects me, so it's kind of like a circular power division. So whatever I have to do, I have to consult them, and whatever they have to do that involves around everyone, they have to consult with me and everything. But sorry. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just here to talk. I'm just here to yap. Let's just continue with this. So for 2022 to 2023, I started to fail my classes and started just trying to explore what I wanted to really do with my life, because I knew that I didn't want to do computer science anymore. I frankly hated it. But I didn't want to say that to my family because I was just worried. I was just really scared of being rejected and, bracing for the worst case scenario of, getting kicked out of my house. So it was honestly a difficult thing to say to my family, especially to my parents, that I couldn't afford to go to school anymore. And the next 2 years of my life was certainly a really difficult time since I started to socially transition and got to talk to new people, good and bad, and hopping from job to job, career to career, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And frankly, by the time that I'm recording this, I still don't know what to do with my life. I just want to help people and just make people happy, if that makes sense. And this is partially the reason why I wanted to do content creation. I just want to make people smile, as cliche as it sounds. And during that time, I started exploring my local queer community in my city. And by and large, the furry fandom, because back then, I used to be a furry hater until I started looking at fursuits more. And I was like that one scene from, I was like Thanos from that one scene from Avengers Endgame. It's just like, perhaps I treated you too harshly, furries. And then a few months later, I became a furry. Haha! A skunk furry! So I met a lot of cool people, some uncool, some cool, but by and large, I have to thank my local furry community about just giving me a place where I can be myself, express my true self, and not have the fear of being judged or rejected or worse. And honestly, it's awesome being a furry because I can just do stuff, cringy stuff, and I can get away with it because being cringe is being free. So as of late, I've been trying to. I went back to college, and I'm currently studying logistics and supply chain, mostly just to build up certifications. It was always been a plan B for me to pick up supply chain as a career because back in high school, I used to flip a lot of old video game stuff and used to flip a lot of things on eBay. So I know a thing or two about e-commerce and having to deal with invoices and such like that. So hopefully, I get a job as something in e-commerce, hopefully within something that's LGBTQ run. But who knows? Time will tell. I just don't know what to go from here. It's already 13 minutes into recording. So I just want to say thank you for tuning in, thank you for listening, and I hope you all stay safe. I'm proud of you.